Paul, last two quick things. One, what you make of Aaron Rodgers accepting the MVP and going into a long spiel, in which at the end of it, I texted my buddy Rob Domofsky, who works for ESPN and covers the Packers, and said, I have no clue, Rob. And I mean, everybody tries to divine and pick out the words of what Rodgers is saying. I guess the only thing I would say is that he sounds like a guy who's very much open to staying in Green Bay. But I get the feeling when somebody says, well, I'll have my decision here shortly, or however he worded it, it sounds like to me that he's decided what he wants to do. Absolute gut feeling. I mean, I don't know, truly don't know. But my gut feeling is that he would want to stay in Green Bay after listening to him talk the other day.
I think it's one of two things. And we talked about this a couple of weeks ago, Peter, when we talked about him with Brady as well. My gut feeling is that he'll be back in Green Bay and he'll find a way to make sure Devontae Adams is there as well. I would raise the possibility even more now than I thought a couple of weeks ago of him not playing. I don't think he'll play somewhere else, but I could see him walking away. He's a guy who, A, has a lot of other interests, and B, he's not shy about letting people know he has other interests and that he would be fine without football. So I think he comes back, but I think that option two is just walking away and being done.
You know, if he stays or retires, and if Russell Wilson stays, and you see the Seahawks are adamant that they're not trading him.
Yeah.
It's a very interesting quarterback market. I've got 8 guys written down that, hey, what happens in this place to this guy? We have no idea yet what's going to happen to Deshaun Watson. He needs to find an end game for all of these lawsuits. This cannot go on. It's been going on for a year. He needs to figure out a way. And look, this sounds totally in a whitewash way. And I don't mean it to be that, but he needs to find a way to make that stuff go away. And I don't mean that he should, quietly pay people off and say, hey, here I am ready to play. I don't mean that. I mean that, right now, I can tell you that there's one team that's very interested in Deshaun Watson that is going to make a decision about its quarterback future before the draft. And they're not touching Deshaun Watson at all, unless this is absolutely finalized. And as this one GM has told me, we need to know from the league how many games he'll miss.
Right.
So
I used to,
if he's suspended. So. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. I used to work with a GM, with the former NFL GM, longtime GM, Peter, at NFL Network. And I felt like there was once a year in the free agent season and in the draft season where a big name, super talented player with a lot of upside, his name would come up, but there was just some kind of stuff. And there's a lot that could go underneath stuff, but there was a lot of stuff with that player. And he said, we would always get to the conclusion, let somebody else do it. There's enough of that stuff, whatever variety it is, where, God, I love the thought of him playing well here, but you know what? Let's let somebody else make that potential mistake or that risky move. And I think there's probably a lot of teams feeling that way right now.
So the last thing I just wanted to discuss was sort of the quarterback musical chairs of this offseason in a little bit different way than that. But I believe there are somewhere between 10 and 12 teams that have something between a desperate quarterback situation and a legitimately unsettled one. And, just to pick out 3 teams that I think right now are absolutely, everybody knows Denver is going to be in the market. And that looks like, because of everything involved, a general manager desperate to straighten out the quarterback situation. Nathaniel Hackett, a quarterback guy at the helm. They want to get an answer there. We know that. But the 3 other teams that I think are going to be very desperate to the point where there might, and I mean, there might be a bidding war for like a Jimmy Garoppolo, as much as people would say, oh, that's crazy. But Carolina, Washington, Pittsburgh, every one of those 3 teams does not, in my opinion, does not have the long-term quarterback on the roster. And if that's the case, then they're all going to be looking. And at the end of the season, I mentioned that my line of demarcation for Jimmy Garoppolo was about Pittsburgh at number 20 in the first round. Seems fair to me that Garoppolo's value as a sort of a tarnished guy in terms of ability and injury, that if you have Jimmy Garoppolo on your team, you better have a backup quarterback you feel really good about. Minimum Colt McCoy, but honestly, better than Mason Rudolph or Dwayne Haskins, I would say. But, so I kind of look at this and I say, Jimmy Garoppolo is the beneficiary a lot of this, or conversely, the 49ers, because Garoppolo is going to be able to find a home and the 49ers are going to be able to get good value for him.
I would give up a first round pick in the back half of the first round. Like you mentioned, 20 there, Peter. I would do that all day long on both sides. Because if you think about it, whether you want to go back 2 years or 20 years, you spend a first round pick on a quarterback coming out of college. Is it 50-50 at best that he's going to be even a decent player? There's some home runs in there, but there are always strikeouts too. And with Jimmy Garoppolo, you're starting with, he's at the very least pretty good. And I'm not going to argue with you if you think he's really good. So to give up a 20th pick or lower or around there, I would do that all day long for a veteran quarterback who's got a few more years, who's got a lot more good than bad about him.
As would I.